across Tasmania. This is Win News.
Tonight, pressure mounts on the government to fix Tasmania's child protection system. Police put boat owners on notice ahead of the long weekend. And David Walsh on hand as Mona launches its newest exhibition. Good evening, I'm Brent Costelloe. There are fresh calls tonight for immediate action to fix Tasmania's Child Protection Service amid new revelations about its tragic failures. The government says a redesign is underway, but the union claims successive governments have failed and the vital service is at crisis point.
It's a service that's meant to protect Tasmania's most vulnerable, but it seems children are continuing to slip through the cracks. Sophie Coral, Win News.
Tasmania's peak motoring body is calling for immediate funding in next week's state budget to ease Hobart's traffic woes. The RACT has welcomed the government's election promises for a ferry service and fifth lane on the southern outlet, but will be looking closely at when the money will become available.
The congestion issue in Hobart is actually becoming extreme. So when we have an issue, we're seeing full congestion across not just the CBD area, but the surrounding suburbs as well. So
more than 100 schools across the state are set to benefit from $15 million in upgrades to their early learning facilities. Forth Primary is among 10 schools set to receive a new kindergarten building.
It's part of really what is a very exciting capital expenditure program right across our public school system in Tasmania.
Weeks into the Braddon by-election campaign and the Greens have finally unveiled their candidate. With just 7 weeks to go, the Greens are confident Wynyard man Jared Edwards will win them votes.
Stepping out in his hometown, Wynyard's Jared Edwards will contest for the federal northwest seat of Braddon for the Greens.
We've always had a view that Braddon needs a strong alternative vision and a strong alternative voice, and that's exactly what it's going to get with Jared.
Authorities are calling for the public's help as they investigate the death of 12 penguins at Lowhead Coastal Reserve. Te Pipui staff yesterday collected 12 carcasses from a garbage bin after they were contacted by a member of the public. They've been taken to Mount Pleasant Laboratories where they'll undergo a post-mortem examination to determine what caused their deaths. Two Scamander men have been charged with arson over a fire at a Mowbray property on Wednesday afternoon. Police allege the 20 and 23-year-old men set fire to the unoccupied house in Vermont Road around 1 o'clock. The damage bill is estimated at $50,000. It's Mona's newest exhibition, and in the own words of founder David Walsh, it's left him flummoxed, stupefied and delighted. Creatively named Zero will open its doors to the public tomorrow, and Win News has your first sneak peek.
There's no secret as to the inspiration behind Mona's latest exhibition.
Well, you know, you've never heard the phrase, come upstairs and see my etchings? This is very much come downstairs and see my etchings.
Zero will remain open at Mona until April next year. Jake Keating, Win News.
Looks absolutely sensational. Well, stay with us ahead on Win News. A stalwart of Ambulance Tasmania calls it a day. Also tonight, the Premier on hand for the first reading of the next edition of a Tassie favourite. Welcome back to Win News, taking a look at what's happening outside the state now. And police have described as horrendous and brutal the stabbing murder of a 5-year-old boy in Sydney, despite the heroic efforts of his grandmother. A leaked report claims Australian Special Forces soldiers used illegal violence on Afghan patrols. Uber is set to launch its carpooling service in Melbourne, allowing users to share their ride with strangers and save money. And NASA finds the best evidence yet of life on Mars. Back home, and after 4 decades, a stalwart of Ambulance Tasmania is calling it a day. Since Peter Berry began his career, the service has grown from 40 staff in the south to around 180, and he's played a key role in training many of those officers and volunteers to respond to emergencies.
He's been a reliable presence within Ambulance Tasmania since he joined in 1978 following a nursing career, but Peter Berry has decided the time is now right to retire.
Hundreds of Tasmanian students have tried their hand at a range of industries, including engineering, building, medicine and hospitality at the annual Creating Your Career Day in the state's north. A joint initiative of the University of Tasmania and TasTAFE. It saw Year 9 students choose a career cluster before being given an insight into the many occupations it offers. Time for sport now with Jake Keating, and Clarence's captain is a confirmed starter tomorrow, Jake.
Spot on, Brent. That's of course for the TSL blockbuster against Launceston up at Windsor Park. Also tonight, some of our best junior water polo players picked to play for Australia.
This report brought to you by Mazda EOFY Value. Get an unbeatable tax time deal on new look BT50. Ends June 30.
First in sport tonight, leading Tasmanian harness racing trainer Ken Rattray has appealed his conviction and 5-year ban from the sport. He was charged with failing to present destrials free of the prohibited substance cobalt in race 3 at Carrick in December last year. In determining the penalty, stewards took into account Rattray's history, which includes 5 prior disqualifications for prohibited substances. In a case of deja vu, Clarence coach Jeremy Webberley is adamant his skipper Brady Jones will return from injury for tomorrow's blockbuster TSL clash against Launceston. Ball magnet Jackson O'Brien remains a 50-50 chance to play in a match where a Blues stalwart will notch up game 150.
Sonny Whiting will be awarded life membership of his beloved Blues when he runs out tomorrow afternoon. Brent, Costelloe, Win News.
Tasmania water polo is celebrating with 3 rising stars chosen to play in an Australian representative team that will compete in Thailand later this year. One of our greatest exports has also signed on with the organisation in the newly created position State Coordinator of Coaching.
John Whitehouse is a member of the National Water Polo Hall of Fame. He's played and coached at the highest level and is the only Australian to have refereed in an Olympic gold medal game. Now he's turning his attention to developing our next generation of stars.
And just quickly before I do go, Brent, Cameron Poyser is no longer a Hobart Hurricane. He's off to the Melbourne Renegades next season.
Yeah, he's been a great servant for us, Jake. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend. The weather details are coming up after the break. Time for the weather now, and it was a mild day across Tasmania. It was 16 degrees on King Island, 15 on Flinders. It hit 16.2 across the northwest coast, a little cooler in Launceston and 15. Down the east coast, and St Helens hit 16 today, Swansea slightly warmer and 17. It got to 14 degrees in Oatlands, rain and 15 degrees in Strawn and Queenstown. Hobart's top was 18 after a minimum of 9 overnight. The satellite shows clouds streaming over Tasmania from the northwest. A weakening front is also visible crossing the state. On the water, west to southwest winds in the north tomorrow, 1 to 1.5 metres seas with westerly swells. West to northwest winds in the east, seas to 1.5 metres with south to southwesterly swells to 1 metre. Westerly winds in the south tomorrow, 2 to 3 metres seas with the sun to rise at 7:37. And west to southwest winds in the east, 1 to 2 metres seas and westerly swells. The sun should be setting around 7 minutes to 5. A strong wind warning is current for southern coastal waters from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point. Looking to tomorrow, showers and 15 degrees expected on King Island, fine and 16 on Flinders. Fine 2 on the northwest coast, Burnie and Devonport 15 degrees. 15.2 for Launceston, up from 3 overnight. Mostly sunny on the east coast tomorrow, St Helens and Swansea 15 degrees. Fine and 11 in Oatlands. Showers on the east coast, Strawn 14 and Queenstown 13. And sunny in Hobart and 15 the top. Interstate tomorrow, showers for Cairns and Melbourne, rain in Sydney and Canberra, a storm for Perth but fine elsewhere. Looking ahead back home, and the long range isn't too flash on the northwest coast with showers for most of the week. The long weekend will be fine in Launceston before the wet weather hits on Tuesday, and conditions aren't too bad for the capital over the next 7 days with top temps between 12 and 15 degrees. That is Win News for this Friday. See you Monday. Good night.